Welcome back to Froggy French, where we dive into the most shocking and unbelievable stories from real people. Today, we are bringing you 11 jaw-dropping tales that will make you question everything you think you know about the people around you. From marriage betrayals to neighbor mysteries, these stories reveal the dark secrets hiding in plain sight. Make sure to subscribe for more incredible content like this, and let us know in the comments where you are listening from right now. I think my husband is cheating, but my revenge might have gone too far. I am 28 and my husband Mark is 31. We have been married for 4 years, and things were pretty good until about 6 months ago. Mark started working late constantly, being secretive with his phone, and just acting weird overall. He would shower immediately when he got home and started buying new clothes, which was unusual for him. I found some receipts in his jacket pocket for restaurants I had never been to, and when I asked him about them, he got defensive and said they were work lunches, but these were expensive places, and the receipts showed dinner times like 7 or 8 p.m. I also noticed he had been using a lot of cologne lately, which he never used to do. Maybe I am overreacting, but I became pretty convinced he was having an affair. I tried talking to him about it, but he just got angry and said I was being paranoid. So I decided to do something about it in my own way. Mark has always been really sensitive to spicy food. Like, he cannot handle even mild salsa without sweating. So I started gradually making his favorite meals spicier. At first, it was just a little extra pepper in his spaghetti sauce or some hot sauce mixed into his meatloaf. He would complain, but eat it anyway. But then I escalated. I put ghost pepper powder in his morning eggs. I made his sandwiches with wasabi mayo. I even put cayenne in his coffee creamer. He started losing weight because he could barely eat anything at home. He kept asking what was wrong with the food, and I would just act innocent and say it tasted normal to me. This went on for about 2 months. Mark was miserable and kept saying the food was inedible, but I pretended I had no idea what he meant. He started eating out even more, which I figured just gave him more opportunities to see his mistress, so that made me even angrier. Last week, though, I found out the truth. Mark had not been cheating at all. He had been working with a financial advisor to plan a surprise vacation for our anniversary. All those late nights and secretive phone calls were him trying to organize this elaborate trip to Italy, which I had mentioned wanting to visit years ago. The restaurant receipts were from him taking his sister out to dinner to get advice about the trip and what I would like. I feel terrible now, but I do not know how to tell him what I have been doing without making everything worse. He has lost like 15 pounds and keeps complaining about stomach problems. Yesterday, he said he might need to see a doctor because he thinks he has developed some kind of food sensitivity disorder. Should I confess what I did or just gradually make the food normal again and hope he does not figure it out? Wow, this is such a mess, but honestly, I can understand the paranoia when someone starts acting completely different. The receipts and late nights would have made me suspicious too. But poisoning your husband with spicy food for 2 months is pretty extreme even if he was cheating. The fact that he was actually planning something sweet for you makes this so much worse. You definitely need to come clean because he is thinking about going to a doctor for stomach issues you caused. This is going to be a really hard conversation, but he deserves to know the truth. Hopefully he can forgive you once he understands why you did it. Let us see what kind of drama the next story brings. My neighbor gets dozens of packages every day, but something is not right. I'm a 25-year-old guy living in a small apartment complex in Ohio. About 3 months ago, this new neighbor moved in next door. He seems like a normal dude in his 30s, kind of quiet, works from home, I think. But there is something really strange going on. Every single day he gets like 20 to 30 packages delivered. I am not exaggerating. I work from home too, so I see the delivery trucks constantly. Amazon, FedEx, UPS, even some smaller courier services I have never heard of. The packages are all different sizes, some tiny envelopes, some medium boxes, some huge ones that take 2 people to carry. At first I thought maybe he was running some kind of online business from his apartment. But here is the weird part. I have never once seen him take any packages inside his apartment. Not a single one. They just pile up outside his door until the hallway is completely blocked sometimes. Our building manager, Sarah, has talked to him about it because other tenants were complaining about not being able to get through the hallway. But instead of bringing the packages inside, he just started having them delivered to the building's package room. Now that room is completely full of his stuff and nobody else can get their packages stored there. I tried talking to him about it once when we ran into each other at the mailboxes. I asked him jokingly if he was running Amazon out of his apartment or something. He got really nervous and mumbled something about buying things for his family and then hurried away. But I have never seen any family members visit him. Last week, I was coming home late from work around 11 p.m., and I saw something really strange. There was a van parked outside our building, and 3 guys were loading dozens of packages from our package room into it. I could not see their faces clearly, but one of them looked like it might have been my neighbor. They were being really quiet and moving fast, like they did not want to be noticed. The next day, I checked the package room, and it was completely empty. All of my neighbor's packages were gone. But then, the very next day, the deliveries started again, like nothing happened. I mentioned this to my girlfriend, and she thinks maybe he is involved in some kind of fraud scheme. Like maybe he is using stolen credit cards to order things and then selling them or something. But I do not know if I should get involved or just mind my own business. The building manager, Sarah, seems frustrated, but says she cannot do anything unless he is actually breaking building rules. And technically, he is not storing the packages in the hallway anymore. Should I report this to someone, or am I just being paranoid about something that is probably innocent? This situation would drive me absolutely crazy, too. Getting that many packages daily is definitely not normal, and the fact that he never takes them inside is super suspicious. The midnight van loading sounds like he is definitely up to something shady. I would probably report it to the police, or at least ask them what they think, because this could be anything from credit card fraud to receiving stolen goods. You are not being paranoid when someone is literally filling up your building's package room and then mysteriously emptying it out in the middle of the night. Better safe than sorry with stuff like this. Now, let us see what secrets the next story reveals. I inherited a house from a great aunt I never met and found something incredible in the attic. So this is going to sound pretty wild, but I need to share this with someone. I am 26, and about 2 months ago, I got a call from a lawyer saying I had inherited a house from my great-aunt Helen who had passed away. I had never even heard of this woman before, but apparently she was my grandmother's sister, and she left me her house in Vermont. My family thought it was weird too, because none of us knew much about Helen. My grandmother would sometimes mention having a sister, but said they lost touch decades ago. The lawyer said Helen had been living alone and had no other family, which is why the house came to me. The house is pretty old, built in the 1940s, and it is in okay condition but needs some work. It is furnished with old-fashioned stuff and has that musty smell old houses get. I drove up there last weekend to check it out and decide if I wanted to sell it or maybe fix it up as a vacation place. While I was looking around, I noticed the attic access in the hallway ceiling. The ladder was already pulled down, which seemed odd. I climbed up to take a look and see if there was any water damage or anything I should know about. The attic was full of old furniture and boxes like you would expect, but in the far corner, there was this big trunk that looked different from everything else. It had several heavy-duty locks on it and seemed way more secure than necessary for storing old clothes or whatever. I probably should not have, but I found a crowbar in the basement and managed to get it open. Inside were dozens of files and documents, some in English, but a lot in what looked like Russian or maybe German. There were also photographs of people I did not recognize and what looked like maps of different cities with locations marked. But the really crazy part was there were several fake passports with different names, but all with Helen's photo. And there was this leather journal filled with notes about people and places, written in some kind of code that I could not understand. At the bottom of the trunk, I found a medal box with about $15,000 in cash and some kind of official-looking badge or ID card that was mostly in a foreign language. I have been trying to research Helen online, but I cannot find much information about her. There are no social media profiles or newspaper articles or anything. It is like she barely existed in any public records. My girlfriend thinks I should turn everything over to the police, but I am worried they might take the house away or something if Helen was involved in illegal activities. Plus, the cash would really help me pay off my student loans. I do not know if Helen was just a very private person who liked spy novels or if she was actually involved in something serious. Should I investigate this further or just pretend I never found it? Holy cow, this is like something out of a movie. Multiple fake passports and coded journals definitely suggest your great-aunt was involved in something way beyond collecting antiques. The fact that she is basically invisible in public records makes it even more suspicious. I would be so torn between curiosity and fear if I found something like this. Part of me would want to try decoding the journal, but the smart part would probably say to contact the authorities. That is a lot of money, though, and it would be tempting to just keep quiet about it. This is definitely not your average inheritance story. Let us move on to something hopefully less mysterious. I just realized my friend group has been excluding me for months, and I do not know why. I am 23 years old, and I thought I had a solid group of friends from college. There are 6 of us total, and we have been close since sophomore year. We used to hang out constantly, go on trips together, celebrate birthdays, the whole thing. But lately, I have been feeling like something is off. It started when I noticed they were posting pictures on social media from places we had talked about going to together. Like this cute brunch place downtown that Emma had mentioned wanting to try. I saw photos of her there with Sarah and Mike last month, but nobody invited me. Then I started paying more attention and realized this was happening a lot. They went to that new escape room that we had all been excited about. They had a game night at Jake's place, which we used to do together every few weeks. They even went on a weekend camping trip to the lake, which was literally my idea from like 6 months ago. Every time I brought it up casually, they would act like it was spontaneous or last minute. Emma would say something like, "Oh, it just came up randomly," or Sarah would claim they were just running errands and ended up there. But the photos showed they were clearly having planned fun together. I tried asking directly if I had done something wrong, but everyone insisted everything was fine and that I was reading too much into it. They still respond to my texts and include me in some group conversations, but there is definitely a different energy now. Last week, I finally figured out what might be happening. I was looking through old photos on my phone and realized that most of the exclusion started after my birthday party in March. At that party, I had probably had too much to drink, and I vaguely remember getting into some kind of argument with Jake about politics or something. I thought we had worked it out the next day when I apologized for being drunk and argumentative. He said it was no big deal and we were good. But now, I am wondering if that incident upset the whole group and they just did not want to tell me directly. The thing is, I do not even remember exactly what I said or did that night. I know I was being loud and probably obnoxious, but I thought that was just normal birthday party behavior. Maybe I crossed a line and do not realize it. It is really painful to feel like my closest friends are slowly cutting me out of their lives without giving me a chance to fix whatever went wrong. I have been friends with some of these people for almost 5 years, and I do not want to lose them over something I cannot even remember doing. Should I confront them directly about excluding me, or should I just accept that maybe the friendship has run its course? This is such a heartbreaking situation because losing a whole friend group at once feels devastating. The fact that they are still being polite, but clearly making plans without you, suggests something specific happened that they are uncomfortable addressing directly. It sounds like your birthday incident might have been worse than you realized, or maybe there were multiple small things that added up. I would probably try having an honest one-on-one conversation with whoever you are closest to in the group and ask them to be completely truthful about what went wrong. Sometimes people avoid confrontation even when it would actually help fix things. Hopefully you can work it out because 5-year friendships are worth fighting for. This next story deals with a different kind of relationship drama. I think my family has been lying to me my entire life, and I do not know what to do. I am 30 years old, and something happened last week that has completely turned my world upside down. I was at the hospital visiting my mom after she had surgery to remove her gallbladder. Nothing too serious, but she needed someone to drive her home and help her for a few days. While she was still groggy from the anesthesia, she started talking in a confused way like people sometimes do after surgery. She was saying things about how proud she was that I turned out so well despite everything and how she hoped I would never find out the truth about my adoption. I thought she was just talking nonsense from the drugs, but then she mentioned a name I had never heard before. She said something like, "Janet would be so proud of how tall and smart you are." When I asked who Janet was, she got this panicked look and said forget I said anything. After she was more alert, I tried bringing it up again, but she completely denied saying anything about adoption or anyone named Janet. She got really upset and said the medication had made her confused and I should not read anything into it, but I could not stop thinking about it. I have always looked pretty different from my parents. I am tall with dark hair, while they are both short with light brown hair. My mom always said I got my height from her father, who died before I was born, but I have seen pictures of him, and he was not that tall either. I decided to do some investigating on my own. I looked through old family photos and documents and realized there are no pictures of my mom pregnant with me. There are baby photos of me, but nothing showing her actually expecting. I also could not find my original birth certificate anywhere in the house, just a copy that looks newer than it should be. I started searching online for anyone named Janet who might be connected to my family. I tried different last names and eventually found a Janet Morrison who died in a car accident 31 years ago. The obituary mentioned that she had a young son, but did not give his name. The timeline matches up with when I would have been a baby, and the accident happened in the same city where my parents lived at the time. I am starting to think Janet might have been my biological mother, and my parents adopted me after she died. I have not confronted my parents about this yet, because I do not know how to even bring it up. Part of me wants to know the truth, but another part of me is scared it will damage our relationship. They have been amazing parents to me, and I love them dearly. I also keep wondering if I have biological family members out there who might be looking for me or want to know what happened to me. The idea that there could be grandparents or aunts or cousins who think I am dead is really bothering me. Should I push my parents for the truth, or should I just let this go and accept that some things are meant to stay buried? This is such an emotional situation, and I can understand why your mom's drugged confession has you questioning everything. The lack of pregnancy photos and missing birth certificate definitely seems suspicious when combined with finding that obituary. I think you deserve to know the truth about your origins, even though it might be painful for everyone involved. Your parents probably had good reasons for not telling you, but keeping this secret for 30 years seems like it has caused more harm than honesty would have. Maybe approach them gently and let them know you will love them the same, regardless of how you became their son. They might actually be relieved to finally tell you the whole story. Let us see what family drama comes up next. My professor has been giving me unfair grades, and I think I know why. I am a 20-year-old college junior majoring in business, and I am having a really frustrating situation with one of my professors. Dr. Martinez teaches my marketing strategy class, which is required for my major. From day one of the semester, he has seemed to have it out for me. Specifically, I turn in assignments that I work really hard on and consistently get C- or D grades, while other students get A grades for what seems like lower quality work. I have compared my papers with classmates, and honestly mine are usually longer and more detailed, but somehow theirs get better grades. During class discussions, Dr. Martinez will cut me off when I am trying to contribute, but lets other students ramble on about irrelevant things. He has also made sarcastic comments about my ideas in front of the whole class, which feels really unprofessional. I thought maybe I was just imagining things or being too sensitive, so I went to his office hours to ask for feedback on how to improve. Instead of giving me constructive advice, he just said my work lacks depth and originality without explaining what that actually means. The breaking point came last week when I turned in what I thought was my best paper of the semester. I had spent 2 weeks researching and writing about innovative social media marketing strategies. I got a D+ with barely any written feedback. Just a note saying, needs more focus. My roommate Tyler is also in the class, and he let me read his paper, which covered basically the same topic with way less research, and he got a B+. When I asked Dr. Martinez about the grading difference he got, defensive, and said he could not discuss other students' grades with me, I was complaining about this situation to my older brother who graduated from the same university 3 years ago. When I mentioned Dr. Martinez's name, his face got really serious, and he asked if I remembered what happened at graduation. Apparently, at the graduation ceremony, my brother and his friends had been drinking beforehand, and they ended up heckling some of the professors during the speeches. My brother said they were being pretty obnoxious, and he thinks they specifically made fun of Dr. Martinez for mispronouncing something during his presentation. Now, I am wondering if Dr. Martinez remembers that incident and is taking it out on me, because I look similar to my brother and we have the same last name. It would explain why he seemed to dislike me from the very first day, even though we had never met before. I do not think it is fair for me to be punished for something my brother did years ago that I was not even involved in. But I also do not know how to address this without making the situation worse. Should I report this to the dean or try to confront Dr. Martinez directly about what I suspect is happening? This is so unfair and unfortunately probably more common than it should be. Teachers are supposed to be professional enough to separate students from their family members, but clearly some hold grudges. The grading differences you described with your roommate sound really obvious, especially when you are putting in more effort and research. I would document everything you can about the unfair treatment, and probably go to the dean or department head rather than confronting the professor directly. He is obviously not going to admit to taking revenge for something your brother did, and might just make things worse for you. You should not have to suffer academically because your brother was drunk and stupid at graduation. Hopefully, the next situation is less frustrating to deal with. I think my couples therapist is trying to break up my marriage. My husband David and I have been married for 7 years, and we started having some problems about a year ago. Nothing too serious, just the usual stuff like communication issues and disagreeing about money and future plans. We decided to try couples therapy to work through things before they got worse. Our therapist, Dr. Linda Chen, seemed great at first. She is in her 40s, has good reviews online, and comes across as very professional and caring. The first few sessions felt helpful, and we both thought we were making progress. But over the past few months, I have started noticing some weird things about how she conducts our sessions. She seems to focus way more attention on David than on me. She asks him lots of personal questions about his childhood and his feelings, but barely acknowledges. When I try to share my perspective, during our arguments in therapy, she almost always takes his side or suggests that I am being unreasonable. Like last month when we were discussing our different approaches. To saving money, she kept saying things like David seems very thoughtful about financial planning while looking at me like I was being irresponsible. She also gives David way more eye contact and smiles at him constantly while maintaining a more serious expression when talking to me. I mentioned this to my sister, and she said maybe I was just being paranoid, but it really feels obvious once you notice it. The sessions have started making our problems worse instead of better. Dr. Chen keeps suggesting that David and I might be fundamentally incompatible, and that sometimes people just grow apart. She says things like, you cannot force someone to change, and maybe you both deserve to find happiness with partners who understand you better. Last week, something happened that really confirmed my suspicions. I had to cancel our appointment last minute because I got food poisoning and was throwing up all morning. When I called the office, they said Dr. Chen had already left for the day even though our appointment was not until 3 p.m. Later that evening, David mentioned casually that he had still gone to the office building for some reason and ran into Dr. Chen in the lobby. He said they talked for a few minutes about how I was feeling, and she seemed really concerned. But why would she be at the office? If she had left for the day, and why would they be talking? In the lobby instead of her office? I am starting to think Dr. Chen has developed feelings for my husband and is trying to convince us to get divorced so she can pursue him. I know it sounds crazy, but therapists are supposed to be neutral and help couples work through problems, not suggest they are incompatible from the start. David thinks I am being ridiculous and says Dr. Chen is just doing her job. He says I'm looking for someone to blame for our marriage problems instead of taking responsibility for my own issues. Should I find us a new therapist? Or am I really just being paranoid about this whole situation? Oh wow, this is such a violation of professional ethics if your suspicions are correct. The fact that she is consistently taking his side and suggesting you are incompatible rather than helping you work through issues is definitely not normal therapy practice. And that lobby encounter sounds really suspicious, especially after she supposedly left for the day. Even if she does not have romantic feelings, the bias toward your husband is completely inappropriate for a couples counselor. I would definitely find a new therapist regardless, because this one is clearly not helping your marriage. You deserve someone who will be neutral and actually try to help both of you communicate better. Let us see what kind of friend drama the next story brings up. My best friend has been sabotaging my relationships for 15 years. I am 29 years old, and I just realized something terrible about my best friend Connor, who I have known since we were 14. We have been through everything together, high school, college, roommates for 3 years after graduation, and I always considered him like a brother to me. I have had a string of failed relationships over the years, and I always thought I was just unlucky in love or maybe had bad judgment about people. But something happened last week that made me see a pattern I had never noticed before. I have been dating this girl Rachel for about 4 months, and things have been going really well. She is smart and funny, and we have great chemistry together. I was thinking about asking her to move in with me when she suddenly became distant and said she needed space to think about our relationship. When I asked what changed, she said Connor had told her some things about me that made her question whether we were compatible. Apparently, he had mentioned that I have commitment issues and tend to get bored with girlfriends after the honeymoon period ends. I was confused because that is not true at all, and Connor knows how much I want a serious relationship. When I confronted him about it, he said he was just looking out for Rachel and wanted to make sure she knew what she was getting into. He claimed he was trying to help by being honest about my past relationships. But that conversation made me start thinking about all my previous breakups, and I realized Connor had been involved in most of them somehow. With my ex, Sarah, he had told her that I was still hung up on a girl from college, which was completely false. With Jessica, he had shared some embarrassing story about me getting too drunk at a party and acting foolish. He always presented these conversations as him being a protective friend who wanted the best for these women. But looking back, I can see how his comments would plant seeds of doubt and make my girlfriends question our relationships. I think Connor has been sabotaging my life for years because he is jealous and wants to keep me single and available as his constant companion. Every time I start getting serious with someone, he finds a way to interfere and create problems. The worst part is realizing how many good relationships I might have lost because of his interference. Sarah and I were really happy together, and I always wondered why she suddenly became convinced I was not over my ex. Now I know it was because Connor put that idea in her head. I confronted Connor about this pattern, and he got really defensive and angry. He said I was being paranoid, and that if my relationships keep failing, maybe I should look at myself instead of blaming him. But I can see now how he has manipulated these situations for years. I feel like I have wasted 15 years being friends with someone who has been secretly working against my happiness. But I also do not know how to end such a long friendship, or if I am right about his motivations. Am I crazy for thinking my best friend has been deliberately sabotaging my relationships, or should I cut him out of my life? This is absolutely heartbreaking, because realizing someone you trusted has been working against you for years would be devastating. The pattern you described sounds way too consistent to be coincidental, and the fact that he always positions himself as protective while planting doubts is classic manipulation. A real best friend would want you to be happy in love, not constantly interfering with your relationships. 15 years is a long time to discover someone has been sabotaging your happiness, but better late than never. I would definitely distance yourself from Connor and maybe even reach out to some of those ex-girlfriends to explain what you figured out. You deserve friends who support your happiness, not undermine it. Now let us move on to a completely different kind of betrayal. My favorite restaurant has been using my photo without permission. For false advertising, I am a 27-year-old woman and I have been a regular customer at this little Italian place called Mario's for about 3 years. It is close to my apartment, and I probably eat there twice a week because the food is good and affordable. The staff all knows me by name, and I always sit at the same corner table when possible. Have never thought much about being photographed there, but I guess over time they have taken some candid shots of me eating and enjoying my meals. I assumed it was just for their social media or something innocent like that. Last month, my coworker Jenny mentioned that she had seen my picture online while looking for restaurant recommendations. At first, I thought she meant she had seen me tagged in something on Facebook or Instagram. But when she showed me what she found, I was completely shocked. Mario's had put my photo on their website and several restaurant review sites as part of their promotional materials. In one picture, I am smiling while eating a plate of pasta, and they have a caption that says something like, "Our satisfied customers love our authentic family recipes." But here is the really messed up part. They have also been using my image to advertise dishes I have never even ordered there. There is a photo of me holding a glass of wine with a caption about their extensive wine selection, even though I do not drink alcohol. Another picture shows me at my usual table, but they have photoshopped a different meal in front of me to promote their seafood specials, which I have never tried because I am allergic to shellfish. I went to the restaurant to talk to Tony, who is the manager, and someone I thought I had a friendly relationship with. When I showed him the photos and explained that I had never given permission for them to use my image, he seemed genuinely surprised but not very concerned. He said they had assumed it was okay since I am a regular customer, and they were not saying anything negative about me. He offered to take the photos down from their website, but said he could not control what review sites had already copied and posted. I did some research and found my pictures on at least 6 different food blogs and review websites. Some of them are cropped or edited in ways that make it look like I am endorsing specific dishes or drinks that I would never actually consume. My sister thinks I should ask for money since they have been using me as a free model for their advertising. But I am not sure if I want to make this into a big legal issue, since I do genuinely like eating there and do not want to lose my favorite local spot. I am also worried about how this might affect my job since I work in a conservative office environment, and some of these photos make it look like I am drinking alcohol regularly, which could hurt my professional image. Should I demand compensation for them using my photos, or just ask them to remove everything and hope it goes away on its own? This is such a weird violation, and they definitely should have asked permission before using you as their unofficial spokesperson. The fact that they photoshopped different food and drinks to make it look like you endorse things you have never even tried is especially problematic. I would probably ask for some kind of compensation since they have essentially been using you as a free model, and it is affecting your professional image. Even if you like the restaurant, they crossed a line by editing photos to misrepresent what you actually eat and drink there. You should not have to worry about your job because a restaurant decided to use you for false advertising without permission. Hopefully the next story is less complicated to resolve. I installed hidden cameras and discovered our babysitter is psychologically tormenting our kids. My wife and I are both 32, and we have 2 kids. Emma, who is 6, and Jake, who is 4. We both work full-time, so we hired a babysitter named Ashley, who is 19, to watch them after school. And some evenings when we have work events, Ashley seemed perfect when we interviewed her. She has great references from other families, she is studying early childhood education in college, and the kids seem to like her right away. For the first month, everything appeared to be going smoothly. But then, our kids started having some behavioral changes that worried us. Emma became really anxious about us leaving for work in the mornings and would sometimes have meltdowns about staying home with Ashley. Jake started having nightmares and would wake up crying about monsters and bad things happening. When we asked them directly about Ashley, they would not say anything specific wrong, but they seemed scared and would ask if we could find a different babysitter. We thought maybe they were just having trouble adjusting to having someone new watching them. Last week, Emma came home from school with a bruise on her arm. When we asked how it happened, she said Ashley had grabbed her really hard when she was not listening. Ashley claimed Emma had fallen while playing, and that she would never hurt a child. My wife suggested we install some hidden cameras just to make sure everything was okay when we were not home. I was hesitant at first because it felt like spying, but we decided it was better to be safe when it comes to our kids' well-being. What we discovered when we watched the footage was absolutely horrifying. Ashley was not physically abusing our children, but she was psychologically terrorizing them in subtle ways that would not leave obvious evidence. She would tell them scary stories about what happens to bad children who do not obey. She convinced Jake that there were monsters in his closet that would come out if he misbehaved. She told Emma that we might not come back from work one day if she was not good enough. Ashley would also play cruel games like hiding their favorite toys and pretending they were lost forever when they did something she did not like. She would make them stand in the corner for long periods over tiny infractions and tell them they were disappointing us. The worst part was watching how she would instantly change back to being sweet and cheerful whenever she heard our car in the driveway. She had been putting on a complete act for us while tormenting our kids emotionally. We immediately fired Ashley and reported her to the agency that referred her to us. But now I am worried about what other damage she might have done that we have not discovered yet, and whether we should report this to police or Child Protective Services. Our kids seem relieved that Ashley is gone, but they are still having anxiety and sleep issues. We have started looking for a family therapist to help them process whatever trauma she caused. Should we pursue legal action against Ashley, or just focus on helping our kids heal from this experience? This is absolutely terrifying, and I am so glad you trusted your instincts about your children's behavioral changes. The psychological manipulation Ashley was using sounds deliberate and cruel, not just poor judgment from a young babysitter. Those hidden cameras probably saved your kids from months more of emotional abuse. I would definitely report her to police because she should not be allowed to work with other families and do this to more children. Document everything, and maybe consult with a lawyer about what legal options you have. Your kids are lucky to have parents who noticed the warning signs and took action to protect them. Let us wrap up with one final story about roommate drama. My roommate has been living a secret life in our apartment. I am 24, and I share a 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate Derek, who I found through a Craigslist ad about 8 months ago. He seemed normal enough when we met. He is 26 and works in IT, pretty quiet and clean, pays his rent on time. I thought I had lucked out with a good roommate situation, but over the past few months, I have started noticing some really weird things happening when I am not home. I work a pretty regular 9 to 5 schedule while Derek works from home most days, so he has the place to himself during the day. I started realizing that things in my room were slightly out of place when I got home. Like my desk chair would be turned a different direction, or my closet door would be open when I always keep it closed. At first I thought maybe I was just being forgetful, but it kept happening. Then I noticed that my food was disappearing faster than it should. I would buy groceries for the week, and by Wednesday most of my stuff would be gone. When I asked Derek about it, he would act confused and suggest maybe I was eating more than I realized. The really weird part started about a month ago when I began finding evidence that strangers had been in our apartment. There would be extra dishes in the sink that neither of us had used, or I would find beer bottles from brands that neither Derek nor I drink. Last week I came home from work early because I was feeling sick, and I heard voices and music coming from my bedroom. When I opened the door, there was a couple I had never seen before having sex in my bed. They were completely shocked to see me and started scrambling to get dressed. Derek came running over and acted like this was just a big misunderstanding. He claimed the couple were friends of his who needed a place to stay for a few hours, and he had given them permission to use my room since I was supposed to be at work. But that explanation did not make sense because why would his friends need to hook up in my bedroom specifically, and why would he give them access to my personal space without asking me first? I started paying more attention after that incident, and I realized Derek has been basically running some kind of unauthorized hotel out of our apartment during the day. People come and go constantly while I am at work. He has been letting them use my room, eat my food, and treat the place like their own personal crash pad. I found out he has been advertising on some app that he has a spare room available for people who need a place to hang out or spend time during the day. He has been charging them like $20 for a few hours, which explains why he always has cash but claims his IT job does not pay very well. The most disgusting part is that these random people have been using my bathroom, going through my stuff, and apparently using my bed for who knows what activities. I feel completely violated and unsafe in my own home. When I confronted Derek about this whole scheme, he got defensive and said he was just trying to make some extra money and that I was being dramatic about sharing the space. He claimed he always cleaned up after his guests and that I never would have known if I had not come home early. That day I told him this was completely unacceptable and that he needed to stop immediately, but he said the lease is in both our names, so he has a right to use the apartment however he wants during his time there. Now, I am worried about having strangers with keys to our place or Derek giving them access when I am not around. I also do not know what kind of people he has been letting in, or if they have stolen anything from me that I have not noticed yet. I want to move out, but we still have 4 months left on our lease, and I cannot afford to pay rent in 2 places. I also do not know if I should report this to our landlord. Since Derek might be violating the terms of our rental agreement, should I try to break our lease or just deal with this situation until it expires in a few months? This is such a massive violation of trust and privacy. I cannot believe Derek thought this was acceptable behavior. Running an illegal day hotel out of your shared apartment and using your room and belongings without permission is absolutely insane. The fact that random strangers have been in your bed and going through your stuff would make me feel so unsafe and disgusted. I would definitely report this to your landlord immediately because he is probably violating multiple lease terms and health codes. You should not have to live with the constant worry of who might be in your home when you are not there. Document everything you can and see if the lease violation gives you grounds to break the agreement early. What an absolutely terrible roommate situation to discover. Thank you so much for sticking with us through all these incredible stories. Which one shocked you the most? And do you have any similar experiences to share? If you have your own story that you think deserves to be told, check out the Google form link in the description below, where you can submit it completely anonymously. We love reading your submissions and featuring the best ones in our upcoming videos. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this content, and we will see you in the next episode.